I ultimately sent my ex-girlfriend's academic career into a nosedive, and it all started with 6 food delivery orders that I never made. I was a freshman at a large state university, just starting my first semester. I'd been lucky enough to get into a special honors-type program, which housed all of us together in one co-ed dorm building. Being a clueless freshman, I quickly fell into a relationship with a girl who lived on the floor right above me. Let's call her Chloe. It was convenient, having a girlfriend just a staircase away, but I was one of the only people who could stand her. The rest of the students in our program found her insufferable. She talked constantly, and almost exclusively about herself. One of her favorite things to brag about was being a fairly aggressive person, a mile-wide red flag that I, in my infinite freshman wisdom, completely ignored. The trouble started right after Thanksgiving break. I was just getting out of an evening class when my phone buzzed. It was my mom, her voice tight with concern. She'd noticed some strange activity on my checking account. Back then, I didn't have a credit card. My debit card was my lifeline to my savings while on campus. I barely bought anything all semester, so we were both baffled to see that $104.29 had been drained from my account over the past 2 weeks, all in the form of 6 separate Grubhub orders. At this point, I still trusted Chloe, but my stomach clenched. I decided to ask her about it immediately. She flatly denied everything and told me I should just cancel my card. She delivered the lie with such conviction, completely unaware that this single denial was the first thread she'd pull in unraveling her entire life at this university. So, after a painfully long call with the bank, I did just that. My card was cancelled. Next, I shot a message to Grubhub's customer service on Twitter. "Hey," I typed, "my card was stolen and used for a few orders on these dates. Can you send me the receipts?" They responded quickly, sending over the first and last receipts, but they had to redact the account holder's personal info. I use redact in quotes because their method was to just scribble over the name with the Snapchat draw tool. Through the thin digital ink, Chloe's name was perfectly visible on both receipts. To make matters worse, the timestamp on the most recent receipt showed it was only 2 hours old. She was probably still digesting the food she'd stolen from me at the exact moment I was on the phone chopping up my debit card. The absurdity was staggering. We both had unlimited meal plans, paid for by our parents, and the nearest dining hall was a 500-foot walk away. She didn't need to order food, and she certainly didn't need my money to do it. I texted her again, my fingers trembling slightly. "I have the receipts from Grubhub. Are you absolutely sure you didn't make those orders?" Her reply came back instantly, an explosion of text. F******* you for suspecting me. Fairly aggressive. Indeed. My initial plan was to get security footage of her picking up that night's delivery, but before I could, around midnight, there was a knock on my door. It was Chloe, her face a mess of tears. She confessed to everything. Then, as if that weren't enough, she admitted to being a serial shoplifter, too. I was so exhausted by the drama that I just sent her away, deciding to figure it all out in the morning. By the next day, it seemed like everyone in our building knew something was going on. Chloe had already started damage control, broadcasting her twisted version of the story to anyone who would listen. I sent her a breakup text and wrote off the $104.29 as a loss, a cheap price to pay to escape the crazy. I thought. I was wrong. Less than 2 days later, she slipped into my room when my back was turned. I was at my desk and suddenly sensed a presence. I turned around, and she was just standing there, silent and looming. "Give me my stuff." "Where's my stuff?" she demanded. "What stuff?" I asked, genuinely confused. "You know," she hissed. I didn't. She began tearing through my room, frantically searching for something she refused to name. Then, as quickly as she'd appeared, she was gone. I immediately locked the door, my heart pounding. This wasn't over. Within a minute, she was back, pounding on the door. The knocking grew more and more violent. "I know you're F.ing in there," she shrieked, her voice echoing through the hallway where all of our program peers could hear. "Open the motherf*ing door." Soon, the handle was rattling violently. Then came a series of heavy thuds. She was throwing her entire body against the door, shoulder first, trying to break it down. I could see the heavy wooden frame bending and buckling under the assault. I even heard the sickening crack of splintering wood. My own RA lived next door, but he was clearly somewhere else. I whipped out my phone and sent him a frantic text for backup, but as she continued her assault on my door, I did something else. I switched to my camera and hit record. My RA was on duty in another building, but he sent 3 of his colleagues running. They managed to get Chloe downstairs and de-escalate the situation. It turned out the stuff she was so desperate to retrieve was just a t-shirt and a keychain she'd given me for my birthday. I let her have them, just wanting this nightmare to end. But once the Resident Life staff heard my side of the story, they took it seriously. They filed for a university no-contact order between me and Chloe. They also advised me to contact campus police, who then told me my only recourse for the stolen money was small claims court, a laughable suggestion since I had no car and no money for an Uber. At the police's suggestion, I also forwarded the entire story to the university's Title IX office. They were, to say the least, very interested. I told the representative I didn't want any more trouble, just a clean break, but she informed me that, based on my testimony, they were bringing 3 official misconduct charges against Chloe: theft, threatening and violent behavior, and inciting an intervention by university staff. They asked me to be a witness at her disciplinary hearing the following semester. I tentatively agreed. Then, with a sense of cosmic irony, the representative set the date for the hearing, February 14th, Valentine's Day. I thought it had to be a joke, but it was real. As the day approached, I learned more about what Chloe had been up to. My friends kept tabs on her, since the no-contact order was in place. For starters, she had failed every single one of her fall semester classes. A guy in my math class also confessed to me that Chloe had tried to sleep with him while she and I were still dating, and that he'd had to repeatedly turn her down. All the while, she was spreading her own warped version of our breakup story, trying to paint me as the villain and turn my friends against me. So when I found out she had a new boyfriend, I admit it felt good knowing their romantic Valentine's evening would be ruined by her disciplinary hearing. When I arrived at the disciplinary office, I was alone and nervous. The board was made up of a few grad students, and the hearing was set to run late into the night. Chloe, however, did not come alone. She brought both of her parents to act as character witnesses, something that wasn't even a recognized role here. This revealed Chloe's greatest fatal flaw, her absolute conviction in her own manufactured reality, a trait so strong she'd even convinced her parents to invest thousands in defending a lie. And that wasn't all. They had also paid for a real lawyer, in a full 3-piece suit, to defend her. The board members explained this was completely unnecessary, but her parents, thoroughly convinced of their daughter's innocence, had already paid him. In the spirit of fairness, the board offered me my own pro bono representation, a junior economics major we'll call Leo. Leo had already read my written account and seen the Grubhub screenshots. He said we had an okay shot. Then I told him the secret I'd held on to for months. When she was trying to break down my door and I texted my RA, I said, I also filmed the whole thing. Leo's eyes lit up. He couldn't get enough of the video. There she was, clear as day, kicking, screaming, and throwing her body against my door. It was the ultimate proof, and nobody knew it existed. Inside the hearing room, when it was my turn to present my case, Leo played the video on a large screen for everyone to see. The room exploded. In that single moment, I realized the full extent of Chloe's lies. She had truly convinced everyone that I was the liar. In her story, I had given her permission to use my account. She told her parents she had asked politely for her things, which I had then spitefully hidden from her. In her narrative, I was the sociopath trying to destroy her reputation. Before the video, it was just her word against mine. Her parents were shrieking at her. Why didn't you tell us you did this? Her lawyer leaped to his feet, raising hell. This evidence was not provided in pre-trial disclosure. A grad student on the board stood up and calmly but firmly told him, Sir, this is not a court of law. Please return to your seat. Objection, he shouted. As the lawyer continued his outburst, the board member coolly replied, We don't have objections. This isn't a court of law. I remember thinking that if I could bottle this moment, it would be my new favorite video. Leo, my new best friend, was visibly trying not to laugh out loud. It was like watching someone try to argue with a cashier at a fast food joint. A real sir, this is a Wendy's moment. And it was glorious. That's when I finally understood how good revenge can feel when it's fair, earned, and served cold. The board found Chloe responsible on all 3 charges. My side recommended her university housing contract be terminated and that she pay full restitution. Her side, humbled and defeated, argued for only restitution and a reprimand. The board compromised. Her family had to pay back most of the money she stole. They hired a lawyer to defend a $104 theft but successfully argued that since 2 of the 6 orders had identical prices, I must have duplicated one, so they docked that amount, and Chloe was forced to move to a different dorm building on the other side of campus. This was probably a blessing for her, because by then, every single student in our program knew exactly what she had done and what she had lied about. No one would speak to her, let alone be her roommate. By the time she had to move, she had already failed all of her classes for the 2nd semester in a row. After footing the bill for her tuition, her unused dining plan, her high-priced lawyer, and the restitution, Chloe's parents finally had enough. They pulled her out of school entirely. The last I heard, Chloe eventually returned as a part-time student, but our no-contact order remains in effect, so I never saw her again. I'm now Facebook friends with the guy she tried to cheat on me with, and Leo and I connected on LinkedIn. As for me, I learned my lesson. I no longer date fairly aggressive people. In the end, this whole ordeal taught me a critical lesson. When you're up against someone who twists reality, the best weapon isn't anger or revenge, but cold, hard, undeniable proof. And sometimes, the most satisfying justice isn't the one you seek, but the one the liar brings upon themselves. So I have to ask, have you ever been in a situation where you had the receipts on someone, and how did you choose to use them?